Welcome, everyone. So this is the Bridge Book Club Projectiology, and today the chapters is the chapters 371 till 404 is interiorization of the consciousness stage post-projection physical awakening state. And we have here two facilitators, Ana Ruiz and Virginia Ruiz. So thank you, welcome girls. Thank you to be here with us helping. And so Ana is a psychologist with a postgraduate certificate in psychopedagogy, volunteer of Conscientiology since 2005, teacher since 2006, and actually volunteer in ISIC and OIC as a consciential therapist since 2021. Virginia Ruiz is a Spanish researcher, has a psychology degree, and is a student's PhD in public health, inverter, instructor, penta practitioner, and a volunteer in ISIC and Holoteca in CAEC, Foz do Iguaçu. So now I hand it to you girls, you can.
Hello everyone. Thanks a lot for the invitation. It's a pleasure to stay here. And it was a very good experience to prepare the chapters. You rememorize and recall many things. And it was a very good experience. So thanks a lot for the invitation. And hello everyone here that is here. Virginia?
Okay, hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me too to be here today with you all. For us, let's see that we are open to question in any moment of the presentation, so be free to interact at any time, any moment. We want to be something dynamic, right? Anna is going to start the presentation. If you want to start sharing, let's start with these two interesting chapters, right? That is when.
Okay, let's see. Just a moment.
Okay. We're going to talk in the moment that the person, the projector, return to the physical base, right? Return to the soma. Anna?
Okay. Now, Magali, you can see it well, the picture, is okay? Yes? Okay. So let's start. As Virginia was saying, we were going to talk the time when the consciousness had their experience, their extra-physical experience, and the consciousness is gonna return to the physical base and is gonna interiorize inside the human body. Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can pass it. It's not passing. Let me see. It's not.
One or two.
Let me see. Anna, okay. So the return of the physical base is the first chapter, and is the departure of the projected intraphysical consciousness that it is from in the extraphysical dimension to the physical base. Okay. And this return to the physical base, it doesn't mean that it can happen interiorization or not, but it's the return to the physical base near the human body. The types of returns, it can be lucid or non-lucid. It can be an impulse return. Sometimes we are going to see the causes for that. That can be the action of the silver cord, or it can be an abrupt or slow return. It depends on what is happening in the extraphysical at that time. And also it can be a solitary return that you come by yourself or accompany. Sometimes you come with helpers that are helping you with the projections or with other consciousness, okay? And the causes, as I was saying, it can be several causes. As I said, the action of the silver cord, it's very common. Or self-determination. You want to come back because you want to remember the spirit that you already had in the extraphysical dimension. Also, it can be extraphysical inspiration. It's better for you to get out from the place that you are for parasecurity. Sometimes it can be this cause. Other time it can be somatics or phobias. That is also related to extraphysical and intraconsciencial trauma. Some surprise that you have in the place that you were, and you were with other people. It has a thing that happens to you that you didn't manage too well, and that makes you return to the physical base. And intrapsychology, it can be many things in that option. And defense of the return, it can be continued consciousness, interiorization. You can return and you can be in a natural sleep, just you fall asleep, or in a stress corporeal sleep. You don't interiorize. Or you can have dreams, start dreaming. Okay, so this can be the effects of the return. Let's see if I can pass. Okay. Now we are going to talk about the interiorization. In interiorization, it is when the psychosoma entering in the human body, thus reestablishing the normal state of coincidence of the vehicles of manifestation. So it is the coincidence of the vehicles of manifestation. The types of interiorization, it can be lucid, semi-lucid, or non-lucid, as we said also in the return. It can be complete interiorization or partial. Sometimes the para leg or the para arm is not completely interiorized, so it takes a time. Or it can be with immediate awakening, with natural sleep, or it can be easy or difficult. Sometimes it's the initiation. If you come from the extraphysical with a lot of energy, sometimes it takes a time. It doesn't mean that it's not discomfortable. Sometimes it's just a matter of a paraphysiology, how it works. And it can be easy. Positions of the interiorization. So it can be many positions. Perhaps you are thinking about this, how I came back from my experiences, how I interiorized in my soma. For me, I was thinking about this, and I can't say that I say, I'm going from above the soma through the side. For me, it's difficult to see that, but I'm gonna talk about some positions. For example, this through the back, through the feet. There's one that I think most of you have had, that's from above in free fall. That I have this when I was more like a teenager. I remember this, that you it's like you fall from a very high altitude and very quickly. and it has like a repercussion in your physical, but it's because it seems like you are falling in a very high speed. And there's the Trendelenburg position, that this name is related to a medical procedure. And is when it is called here, we're talking about the extraphysical Trendelenburg. That is just the parahead alone interiorized into the physical head, and the rest of the body of the psychosoma, it doesn't interiorize. And the human cannonball that you can also, like in the free fall, very quickly, but in our horizontal dive. This is an experience that Professor Waldo Vieira talks in the Projectiology, and it's nice to see the experience. He explains very well. And the metaphors that we can say about interiorization is like a hand entering a glove or a key entering a lock. Why people say, I always, when I come back from my experiences, I don't remember the thing. Normally it's because this is the moment of transition from the parabrain to the brain. And in this transition, it's easy to forget the experiences. For that reason, to apply techniques and to also to read about the projectiology, and to also when I prepare, I start to remember more and more projection. It helps a lot. There is a thing that I thought that it was interesting to say, that there is reluctance to return to human life, that it happened to some people that pass for near-death experience, and also it happens in other projections. It can be also lucid, and it's when the person doesn't want to return because the extraphysical place where he or she was, it was with a lot of energy. It was a very good energy, very serene. And she has, or he has to come back to their routine, to the challenges of their life, to his or her reality. And this is not easy for the person. And this happened, what we call a reluctance, because the person doesn't want to recoincidence, the person doesn't want to awake into the intraphysical. And sometimes the extraphysical reluctance, when it's very pronounced, generates a period of projective reserve, that this is sponsored by the helpers. And just to say that interiorization, and normally we have more lucidity than in the takeoff. We're going to talk, so we were talking about the interiorization. We're going to talk that sometimes it occurs the semi-discoincidence. So what is that? It's the imperfect recoincidence between two or more vehicles. What are the types of the semi-coincidence? For example, there can be a semi-trance, that's a parapsychic trance, that we see that when a epicon is doing a dynamic, so it is in parapsychic trance, and it takes a time to the person to coincide. This coincidence that it happened in the projector, that Virginia is going to talk later about it. And there's also a similar coincidence that we can say that is psychopathology. That is the incomplete rhizoma of the consciousness into the human body. And this is, we can say that it's a psychopathology of the mental soul. Okay. Now we are going to talk about the repercussions between the vehicles of our manifestation of the consciousness. So now this is the psychophysical repercussions, and we can have several categories. We can have a physical repercussion, extraphysical, psychosomatic, mental somatic, and holochakrology. I'm going to talk about two of them, that is the physical and the extraphysical. One of the basic characteristics of this repercussion is the consciential trauma. When we say consciential trauma, we don't want to say that it is something damaged. It's something that is innocuous. It doesn't damage the consciousness. And the characteristic of this repercussion, that one vehicle come in contact with other, for example, psychosoma with the soma, they may or not may provoke some characteristic like physical awakening, ordinary components, lucid projections, or recall of the extraphysical or physical occurrences. I think that this part is interesting because to get to know more what is happening in the extraphysical, what are the lucid projections that you have, it's important to know that sometimes when you are, for example, awakening, you are awakening, but your psychosoma is not real coincident. And in that moment, it creates, physiologically talking, mini dreams. And these mini dreams sometimes confused with the lucid projection that we have. For that reason, I think it was important. Sometimes it makes storylines. And people said, I was feeling like someone was touching a part of my human body, or I was falling. And this is sometimes because of the repercussions of the contact of the vehicles, okay? As I said, one of the one that we are going to talk is extraphysical repercussion. That is the reflex of the human body upon the psychosoma. For example, sometimes we can have cramps, or our throat is dry, or someone touched us when we are sleeping. And the effects of that, it can be a return, an interiorization. Sometimes it's abrupt, because imagine if a physical touch, the psychosoma interiorizes sometimes very quickly inside the human body. And it works like we have a nightmare when we are dreaming. And you feel fear and you physically awakening. So it has the same mechanism. Physical repercussion is the other way, is the reflex of the psychosoma upon the human body. And what can be the physical causes? It can be, I read it here, the more common, instantaneous takeoff, when the person gets lucid and it's taking off. It can make the person awake. Extraphysical clairvoyance, as I said before, the surprise, or the abrupt extraphysical self-awakening, that you weren't aware that you were projected. Extraphysical attack can make you, there's a repercussion that can make you also return to the psychosoma. Euphoria and telekinesis. Okay, so this is the effects that I was saying. Upon the most normal that I was saying, muscular spasms, stronger jolts, that it or jerks, that is common, but due to the partial disconnection, tachycardia and catalepsy. Okay. Now Virginia is gonna talk about the intracranial sounds during the interiorization. Okay.
Thanks, Anna. Yes, so during the interiorization, you can have some noises that are difficult to characterize, and it's perceived only by the projector. So they are very singular. Almost always inside the cranium, but can be intracerebral as well as extracerebral, and occurring at the precise instant of the interiorization of the of the psychosoma into the human body. The main cause of these intracranial sounds is the abrupt or traumatic interiorization only the parahead of the psychosoma. The silver core influence also the occurrence. I don't know if you have this experience that it's so common. It's a little strange sometimes the first time that you had this experience because you don't know what is going on. And it's difficult to describe. The most common types of intracranial sounds are buzzing, for example, or tinkling or sibilations, vibrations in the head, crackling fire, electrical spark, exploding balloon, ebbing and flowing, hissing sound. I don't know if you can think in which type of sound is the one for you. For me, it's vibrations in the head, some mix with buzzing, tinkling too. So please next one. This is important to describe your phenomena, the things that you have. Another state that is important that you to remember is the hypnopumping state. That is the transitional condition of natural sleep during the semi-sleep state that precedes the act of awakening, characterized by oniric images with auditory effects and hallucinatory visions. This is the opposite of the hypnagogic state, when you exteriorize and you go out your body. So it's the opposite in the interiorization. You are in the hypnopumping state, and this state defines the essential part of the physical awakening of the intraphysical consciousness after a projection. And it's a very good opportunity for the recall of extraphysical events. So this is, we can take advantage of this state to recall the experience that we have. Because it's a challenge for all of us to remember, right? The experience that we have in the extraphysical. After the hypnopumping state, or after a projection, we can promote the physical awakening, right? The physical awakening is the action where the projected consciousness awakens in the intraphysical dimension. So after a lucid projection, or the entrance of the consciousness into the ordinary physical awakened state after, for example, not just a lucid projection, but a dream or the sleep. Okay. Next, please. There are physical different types. Gradual, you wake up with a good sensation or bad sensation, imposition, the alarm clock wake you, or the mother with the children or your partner, or you wake up as in a hurry, like something in an urgency or in a healthy way, or with continuity, that this is when you have a projection with continuous self-awareness. So think in your daily life, when you wake up, what is the most common type that you wake up? Because this characterizes the pattern of the consciousness. Causes. The physical awakening of the conscient can occur due to various causes. So it could be physical, so you can do some movements of the human body and then you wake up, or you open your eyes, or it could be something external, physical touching of the human body by a pet or a noise from your neighbor, right, close to or to contiguous to the soma, or could be something extra-physical too, like notice through clairaudience and you wake up or extraphysical touching of the human body by a Conscientiogram, and this can provoke to the awakening, or self-telekinesis, that is the touch by the projected projector itself. Or in a post-cataleptic physical awakening or energetic shower that I'm going to explain in the next slide. As I was saying, we can provoke or promote our physical awakening, because the projector does not always interiorize and immediately awaken after the consciential projection. Sometimes her consciousness sleeps again, right? So the projector can also require awareness in the human brain and not to be able to move physically. This is so common when you have a projective catalepsy. This is in offices, or it's a benign state. It's very common when you are younger, or when you have your first experience, and it is sufficient to produce any movement, like move one finger, or close your eyes, or breathe deeply, that you wake up. At the beginning, the projected catalepsy can provoke like a little fear, because you can hear everything, but you cannot move, and you don't know what is happening to you, and it's a little scary when you tell someone. I remember telling to my mother, I don't know what is happening with me. It was so, I was feeling very, I didn't know what to do, right? But after one experience to another, you create your own techniques. For me, I have this, sometimes when I do an app, right? Magali, yes?
Yeah, it's just about the catalepsy. You mentioned something about being young, that it's easier to have, or it happens more with young people. Can you just tell us about that?
Explain, yes. Sometimes it's because, for example, if the person has a lot of energy or ectoplasm, could facilitate this state of catalepsy, or
due to the experience.
Or open your microphone. Or
no, I was saying that also I think that it happens because due to an experience that the person doesn't know that she thinks that she's in the intraphysical body. She doesn't know that she's in the extraphysical, that she's discoincident. So she wants to move her or his body, and she does, or he doesn't know that it's in the extraphysical. This is one of the causes of the catalepsy, confusions, that the young people have.
Yeah, but what it is very easy to you are not able to move physically, but you can move very easily when you domain this, when you have more experience about that. Yes, Lily?
Can I add to
yes.
that maybe? When I was younger, I had longer projections. Sometimes I would stay even most of the night out, and that is when I had more catalepsy.
Yeah.
Because the coming back is kind of more difficult or something. The thing is, most people, when they have catalepsy, they get frightened because they don't know what's happening. And for me, I always thought it was a very interesting experience, and it was pleasurable. When I was kind of between dimensions, it was quite pleasurable. So can I stay here for longer? Kind of, and then sometimes, okay, let me move a finger, or let me move my tongue inside inside my
Exactly.
mouth, and then it would come back. Yeah.
So there are different experiences, right? Sometimes people like it, like Lily. For me, it wasn't good the first time because I didn't know where it happens.
Yeah, because it can be scary, right?
Exactly. It's like.
And, can I?
Yes,
I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure how to raise a hand on here, but I think one of the recurring themes with that is also the presence of extra-physical consciousnesses, which is often perceived as scary. And I know the first time I had a really clear paralysis state, there was Conscientiology moving around me, and it sounded incredibly physical. Like I could hear footsteps and I could hear talking, but it was not physical, and it was quite. I hadn't had that before, and it was very odd, and I felt very powerless because I couldn't move, and I couldn't really see. I couldn't get out extra physically. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's, oh, sorry. This catalepsy is so strong when we have that it makes us to realize how we can see. Actually, I had the same thing. I had people there close to me, and it's so strong.
Thank you all. Yes, I have a technique now that it's open my eyes. This always helped me. So and it's not so now I have a few experience, but for me I don't mind that. If I open eyes, I wake up. So this is interesting. You evolve in your experience, right? There's another very interesting phenomenon is the post-projective energetic shower. That is this energetic discharge, and it's very pleasant. Corporal sensation that the projector can feel soon after the hypnopompic state, after a projection, at the beginning of the act of recalling the extraphysical experience. What are the characteristics? They are spontaneous. In majority of the cases, it begins in the head and flows to the feet. And in any position, intensity could be very intense or not, or lighter. And it seems to be related to the absorption of extraphysical energy that was performed by the projector. So that's the energy. And this occurs most frequently after an inputful assisted projection, when the act of recalling the projection is the triggering factor of this process. This almost always occurs with the presence of a extraphysical helper. So could be it works like a confirmation. A common dream does not have this potential to promote this post-projective energetic shower, right? And I think this is when we invest more in projections, we have this kind of phenomena more easy. We can have to this coincidence, and I was talking before, right? That is the psychological condition of the projector after the interiorization, in which the conscience perceives itself with the psychosoma, with or without the hollow chakra, to be outside the state of coincidence of its vehicles, while in a full ordinary physical waking state without feeling completely integrated into the human body. We use this analogy that poorly closed drawer. This is natural, this is not, it can be natural, short, and inoffensive. Right? You cannot confuse this with the hypnopompi, and certain drugs can generate this condition too, or certain people who suffer migraines. They used to talk about this this sensation. And I remember too that this is inoffensive, is benefit, but it can be pathological when it is not sought. For example, an illness contained without will, and that is subjugated by pathological consciousnesses. And this coincidence state is promoted by this by other consciences that can manipulate the projector. Okay. It's screen off this. What is the sensation of the coincidence? You can feel that you are walking on air, walking on clouds, or the sensation of being taller or bigger than you are, or sensation of lack of corporal weight, sensation of expanded space, or loss of tactile sensation, or the solidity of physical objects. So in this state of coincidence, you need to be very careful when you go down in your house, by instance, because sometimes you lose your balance in some moments. You are not you are aware, but it's you need to prevent some mini accidents that you can have, okay, until you recover your normal state. Okay.
Can I add something there?
Yes,
A little bit more positive. Is you can do it, you can induce it at will if you want in certain situations. For instance, when sometimes when I am very tired and or my legs are aching a little bit and I want to walk more, I induce this misalignment of the psychosoma so that I cannot feel the legs, and they carry on working. They carry on walking, and I am, feeling light, no pain. So that's you can use it, when you know what it is and how to do it. You can use it.
Perfect. So you can promote exactly this state of this coincidence of the vehicles of the consciousness when you need it, right? When it's useful for you.
You also can use that, for instance, to activate clairvoyance, right? When you want to do clairvoyance, automatically what you do is you promote a misalignment of the psychosoma and you activate your frontal chakra.
Exactly. Perfect. Why do we have this state of this coincidence that it's spontaneous when you wake up after a projection or after the sleep? It's because sometimes it's an alteration in the mechanisms of the interiorization, or an excess of consciential energies, or the looseness of the hollow chakra. Could be a high degree of lucid projectability, or emotional exaltation that could be intraphysical euphoria. You feel a lot of, for example, fraternity, or a very pacific or calm energy. You interact with other consciousnesses and you feel this, and this can promote this coincidence too, or an intense exteriorization of the energies of the hollow chakra. And sometimes you don't perceive that, right? So we talk about this now, right? Return on the human body, interiorization, hypnopompi, awakening technique, the coincidence, and energetic shower. Now we go to the second chapter that is post-projection physical waking state. That is a challenge, right? To remember our extra-physical experience when you don't have a projection with continuous self-awareness, right? So to learn more about this issue, one of the ways is to study memory. So the memory plays a fundamental role. So according to the conventional scientific paradigm, it is possible to experience the past from memories, records of what has passed, and the headquarters in the brain. And every occurring in life, as small as it may be, is stored, although can be temporarily forgotten, right? You're not going to store all. Sometimes you can discard because they are not useful for you. But this is, for example, the person who's able to have a good memory and pay attention to the detail presents a tendency to recall the facts of the experience while projected. So to work with the brain or with the memory, physical memory is very important. But this memory that we have in our brain, those facts that we remember, represent just only a fraction of our integral memory or hollow memory, that is the set of mnemonic records of consciousness. So it could be from consecutive life, from the intermissive period, from one life to another, between one life with another, or could be extraphysical experience by chance. So according to the conscientiological paradigm, it is possible to experience parapsychically at some level different moments of time continuum, past, present, future. And the headquarters is in the parabrain. The challenge is the access to the parabrain memories, or how to do the download of these memories that we have during the extraphysical period, or when we have a projection. So I was telling to you that to understand better our hollow memory and to access paramemories, right? The best way is studying memories. This is a taxonomy that we have in the conventional scientific paradigm since the cognitive psychology, but there's a lot of taxonomies that you can find. And this we divide in short-term memory, that is the operational memory. For example, someone is telling you a telephone number and you are writing down. After 1 hour or one day, you forget this number because you already wrote down. Or the street name, a street name. You learn one day, someone told to you, but after a week or a month, you don't remember anymore. This is the operational memory that we use every day. Then you have the long-term memory that could be divided in explicit and implicit. The explicit is episodic and could be biographical memories, things that happens to you in this life, or the explicit semantic, that is the general knowledge, right? Or could be implicit, that is motor skills, performance, like ride a bicycle, play piano, or dance. There's another memory, is the sensory memory, that is visual, olfactory, auditory, gustatory, some aesthetic, kinesthetic. This is so important because it explicitates the fact that we understand that if we can remember the facts of this life, the memories from my life, I have more possibilities to remember other lives, or remember or recover some talents from our past. For example, talents that you invest in the past lives, and you can recover this life. And I think the most interesting thing is that you can recover memories from your intermissive course and can help this to do your existential program or mission of life. For that reason, it's so important to study memory, to work your memory, and to take care of your memory. We are going to talk after that about some conditions, how to promote, how to take care of your memory. But before that, we can talk about the consciential projection recall. That is the act of recalling experience outside the human body. Why is it difficult to recall? Because the biochemical hormonal changes that habitually occur at night can impede the consciousness assimilation of new information, and this perhaps that is why people forget dreams as well as lucid projections. Even that fact, we are able to remember our projections, and we find two categories, principal categories, because there are a lot of more, but we can talk about this principle: fragmentary recall and block recall. Fragmentary is the recall coherent, and is okay. The fragmentary recall is the recall coherent or scattered in parts. It's the fragments of the extraphysical events that you have. And it can be maybe precise, or another can be cloudy or obscure, and you can have like a puzzle. Interesting that the first fragment to surface in the memory are almost always the final extraphysical event. So when you wake up in the morning, when you have some fragments, almost always is the final extraphysical event. This is the fragmentary recall, but the ideal is in block recall. Why? Because it's the rapid, integral, and coherent recall of extraphysical events. And it's the most efficient, right? Sometimes you can mix, you can have fragmentary recall and block recall. What's the normal that you have is some more fragments, but you can have this in block recall. There's some factors favorable to projection recall, factor unfavorable. One of the there are four principal categories that we put here: physical, and the favorable factors could be, for example, if you apply some mnemotechniques can help you in this. Of course, paying attention to the situations. This is so related to memory. When you pay attention to something, you are able to remember. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is the lifestyle. For example, doing exercise, physical exercise, or the nutrition, the food that you eat, the cognitive activity, or the number of hours you sleep, or the psychological flexibility are some very important factors that related to the memory and related to recall projections. Factors unfavorable: postpone registration of consciential projections, so don't have a register. And it's going to talk about the diary that that is so important to have. Could be our lifestyles, a lot of tasks. We are so busy, and sometimes we don't have this space or a change of the projector or a physical base. So you're visiting someone, and this can be unfavorable. Another thing, the psychological. If you are motivated, this helps a lot. There's reparation to deep extraphysical emotion or non-habitual experience. So you have, you feel very good, or for instance, very sad, or you in these situations, you are able to recover. In the opposite, the disinterest, if you are not motivated, you don't want to know anything, or if you have fear, this is so common. Fear can provoke the loss of the memories. This is something that we need to face in one moment, to face, to stop feeling fear. And this is one situation, one experience to another. And another thing is the excessive self-censorship, right? I'm talking a lot of factors, right? You can start thinking about your personal cases, what happens to you. And in the physiological, could be the position that you use, dorsal position is better, or rotation, always small movements. But prone position is not favorable. You can have, yes, but it's not favorable. Or organic intoxication. Extraphysical, fixation of the key moments, the cooperation of the helpers help a lot. Prolonged events that occurs at a distance from the physical base, service of assistance, parapsychic exercise. This is so, of course, these extraphysical events. This is not all factors unfavorable to consciential projection recall are actually unfavorable to projection itself with regard to the quality of the experience and its purpose. That is, I'm talking right now, right? You are donating a lot of energy in the extraphysical, and this sometimes that doesn't help a lot to remember, to recover, or to recall the memories. But donating energy is much important, right? The assistential work in the extraphysical. Another thing, as always we say, that the person who is able to learn to recall natural ordinary dreams improves the recollection of lucid projections experience. There's some techniques so important. You can apply a lot of techniques to recall, but this is the main one. This one is called self-programming recall. Has two phases. The prior is in this phase, you are going to program yourself by employing suggestions. For example, saying before you fall asleep, I will remember the projection in detail. I will remember the projection in detail. Say this 5 times, okay, and then you go asleep. Then, or work with energies. Then in the second set, upon awakening, you're going to remain for some minutes, moving the soma as little as possible, small movements. You can move your head to one side. This can help you to recall too, and write on a paper everything that you remember, or sometimes record in your WhatsApp. Sometimes you don't have anything. You have some new, right, ways to record your lucid projections or your dreams, the experience that you have. Another technique that is adapted from Mill, this mnemonic induction of lucid projection, is questioning first in physical dimension. And then in the extraphysical, am I awake or I'm in a lucid projection? So you do this a lot of times during a week, during your daily day. I'm awake or I'm projected? No, I'm awake. And then this, the idea is you go with this question in the extraphysical. I'm awake or in a lucid projection? And there's another ways to develop this technique too. And it works a lot for a lot of people. There are another extraphysical resources that can help you to recall events. For example, with names, repeat to yourself the names here at the exact moment in which they are during the lucid projection, and associate with something that you know a lot. So do this exercise in the extraphysical to remember things, you want to remember things to fix the experience, or learn names or ideas in the extraphysical dimension and immediately return to the human body and register them without delay. So after that, you decide to return to your body. Or you can have interconnections. That is the ability to carry the subject of the prior extent to the next extraphysical scenario. So sometimes you are in a extraphysical place and go to another very quickly, but have this interconnection, try to associate one extent to another, so you are not going to lose all the sense that you are experiencing. Another thing is touch on an index finger to your forehead in order to remind yourself on what you saw or experienced outside the human body. This is so common that we can do this. So with your parafinger, and then you are going to realize that you are you are projected. You can recover lucidity. This is so interesting too. And then this can help you to recall the events. Another thing is comparisons, establish comparisons between extra-physical things with familiar physical things. There's another technique that is fragmentary recall technique. That is it's so interesting. That is everyone wake up in the middle of the night, right? More asleep than awake, and you should attempt to remain more awake without getting out from the bed, trying not to move your head, and you should endeavor to recall something that occurred immediately prior to the moment. So you are going to this first oniric or projective recollection that you have because you do this exercise will serve like a mnemonic clue or seed. So the episodes of the extra-physical facts will be fixed little by little, trying to get more extents and continue this way until reaching the most extensive, deep, and best possible projective recall. This is like very active technique because you want to recover recalls. You don't remember, but you want, and you are going to do this exercise. It's like when you're doing exercise, physical exercise, to develop this, right? So sometimes you don't have the capacity, but then you develop more capacity and you have more resistance. That's it with this recall technique. And another one thing that helps is your awareness can sometimes provoke a post-projective energetic shower. So you can have some confirmations for these fragments. Recalls, and this is so important to value. Even fragments is important because it's your experience, it's something that you are having right now in this moment of your life. This Anna is going to continue. Okay.
Sorry, Anna.
Yeah.
This, from a timekeeping point of
yes,
view.
this is what I was going to ask.
How much longer have you got? How many, like time-wise, we'd say another 5 minutes or so, but I don't know how much you've got.
Okay, as you said, we can go as long as you if you want us to finish, like we can finish in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Yeah. As you think it's better for the activity. What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll have a discussion or breakout rooms.
Great. Okay, so guys, what we are talking now is the finishing time of the projective experiment. We are going to talk about projectiography, the diary of the projector. Most of you that are here are veteran projectors, so you may have, or you can have instruments that you know that can help you to register your experience, like time, data, temperature. This is interesting. And to see also, it's important to compare the state before and after the projection. This is about the duration of the lucid projection. It can be seconds, minutes, hours, or days. The most frequent are seconds, and the most common is in minutes. Half an hour is the average, Hours is when it's period of series of projection, and that is are rare, it can be also pathological. Okay, so here you can see that sometimes the time that we are in the extraphysical, it doesn't match with the time that it's in the intraphysical. So sometimes 10 physical minutes, it can be like 10 extraphysical hours. The types of records, it can be some people, I think a long time ago, like 10 years ago, many people that I know had like a type recording. And they like this because for them it was easy to recall and to record the experiences. It was easy for them. But you can do typing also, or writing in your diary. As Virginia said, the most important is to register your experiences immediately when you wake up, because this is a mnemonic method. You are going to remember easily. Then with the time pass, you see your telephone, the WhatsApp, and then you really forget everything. Avoidance, sorry, I think it's important not to have like preconceived ideas. Like, this has to be like this because yesterday I have this. So just to be open and write down how it happened, the facts, and then you can interpret what happened. Okay. The consciential state, Virginia also talked a little bit about this. It can be in two ways. It can be self-confident, optimistic. Most of the time when you are in the intraphysical, you feel really good because of the energy, and you feel intraphysical euphoria. But on the other hand, you can feel also emotional shock, depressed, sensation of guilt. Sometimes it is saying that it's something that you are not doing in your proexis, in your existential proexis, it's called, yeah. Physiological state. Now we are going to talk after the lucid projection, how is our physiological. You have relaxed physical state, but also you can have mental fatigue or discomfort due, for example, for the interinstitutionality, for the assistential works that you did in the extraphysical. You can have various of temperature or heart rate, or physical turbidity of the soma because of this coincidence. The projectiography, as I said, what is nice to write down, and I remember here the book of Dr. Waldo Vieira, Projection of the Consciousness. Business is showing there. I have in Spanish, the one that I have, but I also have in English, of course. Dr. Waldo always write the time, the weather, how much time you took to fall asleep. This is interesting to see your development as a lucid projector. Okay. It's also one thing that I think is important. What happened, for example, the facts that happen during the day is something relevant happening. I think it's very nice to write it down also. The diary of the projector, as I said, it has to be direct, clear, objective, intelligible, organized, dispassionate, informal, and detached. I think this is the more important thing. Most of you must have a diary of the projector for many, many years, and that helps you to reflect something that you write like 10 years later can help you now that is happening now. Perhaps for me it happened. It's a very good resource to get to know you and to have a self-criticism. And Virginia, you want to follow with the confirmation after the lucid consciential projection, just to finish
this quickly. The confirmations after a lucid consciential projection is the effect of confirming in the physical dimension the extraphysical events. So there's a lot of occurrence, collection of proofs, location, climate, person, health, conditions, coherence, synchronicity, general clues in terms of names, side note, posts or posters, maps, telephone numbers, sensations of deja vu. So as you are having experience outside of your body, you were in the house of your friend that you've never been there, and you see the living room, and then you talk with your friend. Look, I think I was in your house in the living room. Is there some this stuff, this furniture? And you confirm this one. Another thing, when you, for example, you have a lucid projection and then you see near your house, near your apartment, in the parking, a lot of cars, and one car pay your attention, you fix the image, and then you return to your body, and you wake up, in the next day you remember and you check. If you are lucky and the car is still there, you can check this. And this is small confirmations or important, could be something that that more serious, like someone needs help or is ill, or someone of the family of your has a desoma, so you have this confirmation after that. Or can be something, some disasters like hurricanes or a fire, or something that it happened, and you in the next day you see the news and you remember the experience. And this is so this evidence can be voluntary or involuntary, or public or self-confirmation. Magali?
No, it's just the time, if we can.
Yes, we are. This is the last slide. The thing is the analysis of the paraperception of the projector. This is so complex. Statistical facts demand interpretation according to the environment or the level of awareness. So you need to maintain your criticisms, register of the events, avoiding interpretive bias or wrong conclusions, considering the limitations of the projector. Sometimes you don't see the whole picture. Most of the times it's a partial. You are seeing just one extent or one partial event. You don't see all. So one of the basic goals in the lucid projection is to achieve a multidimensional self-awareness and to develop this intervehicular lucidity between parabrain and brain, and hollow memory and cerebral memory. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Virginia and Anna. And now we can do our discussion. So, Kim and Chico, do you think we do the discussion in the break rooms, or?
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have
I think it's a good
maybe
idea.
10-minute breakout rooms or something,
Yeah.
and then come back for a group discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'll start the breakout rooms soon, and then you'll get a notification when it's time to come back. So in our breakout rooms, Virginia, Anna, are there any questions that we should reflect on, or should we just discuss, kind of the material that you covered, or any experiences we had over the month? What do you think?
I think my opinion, okay, but focusing in techniques, recall, and working about the memory, how you take care of your memory, and then that's how influence the astrophysical recalls. This kind of thing, but maybe something that can help.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start it now.
me.
Oh, Virginia, are you still here?
Yeah. Any other discussions that you think was important in your little group? Please, it's open now to us to discuss in a big group.
I actually would like to bring a couple of questions that don't relate to recall. They just relate to some of the other points of the discussion. The first one is about interiorization. And I have this memory from childhood, right? And I was a young kid, so sometimes I question, you know, is this true? But the memory I have is that I was coming back to my body and my head was where my feet were and I couldn't get in, right? I was kind of the wrong way around and I was confused. And why are my feet here? And I've heard other people share this similar kind of experience, but it kind of goes against, you know, what we talk about, like how as soon as you get close to the body, you just get sucked in, right? And you just kind of go in. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. Like, why would it be, you know, that we can be in a situation where we're like trying to get in, but we're like, oh, it doesn't fit, you know, rather than why wouldn't, so then I guess I'm doubting, you know, is this real memory? Am I, so that, yeah, so let's start with that one. I have another question.
So Kim, what I think is when you return, is the difference between return and interiorization of the vehicles. It can have a lot of causes, but oh my gosh, sorry, I have a difficulty from the words in English, but it's like when you okay, when you come back to the body, sometimes you have a lot of energy, and this I remember the idea. It was you were talking that because of the silver cord, the action of the silver cord, you can normally interiorize the psychosoma with the soma, and it's very normal, but because of the energies. And it's common to have this coincidence. This is one I have other ideas, but I forgot, as I was saying. I forgot the idea that I was gonna say. But sorry, Kim. I don't know. I don't know if Virginia wants to talk.
No, I think this kind of experience is a little weird, right? Because we don't know how to recoincidence. For me, sometimes the psychosoma start like moving without control in some moments. I remember that when I was younger, and I go in one way, from one way to another, one side, and has this sensation. And I think being aware of that being aware of the experience, I think is so positive to be aware, to have this lucidity and experience, right? And time after time, you start domaining. And now I cannot remember this kind of experience that I used to have, but I think it's so interesting, right? This experience to analyze. And for me, for example, now I'm not having anymore this. I have this coincidence, or sometimes I have this catalepsy, sometimes when I have naps, but it's not so usual. And for you guys, what are your experience about that?
I never had an experience like that, but I have experienced Trendelenburg position, which is also very funny. Yeah, when you are all out, your psychosome is all out except the head, or something like that, and the head doesn't come out.
So
that is a funny one.
Kim,
I always
now,
find these things very funny. So for me, it's all experimentation, experience, and tranquility. I don't fuss about
yes.
it, or I don't get. I'm not afraid. Kind of those kind of things. I mean,
Kim,
sometimes
now,
it happens, right?
Kim, now I remember that I think I have very many ideas, and I couldn't say of chapters that we read, that there was a person that was trying to do the same thing. He was trying to interiorize in her body, and he do it in this way, in the other way, and he couldn't do that. And it's not, sometimes I think it matters because of energetic partner, but it's not, I think some people pass with this experience, but I already read about it. I think it's in the, it's in the chapter 372 that you can read that. But it's an interesting that the person wants to interiorize and the person couldn't.
Mm. I think Robert Monroe might have talked about something like that as well. When I mean, for me, when I was a kid, right? I don't know if people know Pippi Longstocking, the Pippi Longstocking story, but she used to sleep with her feet on the pillow and her head on the other side, and I did that sometimes, you know, copying her, and that's when I had this experience. So I was confusing myself, right, in the way I was I was lying.
I'm still having this kind of experience in the morning from time to time. I don't know. I'm joking. I'm like when I don't know. Until now I never thought about. I thought maybe my psychosoma, or sometimes I think that maybe it's related with assisted projection, and maybe the helper is not so bright to get me back in my body as normally. I don't know. I never thought about it, but I'm still experiencing.
So what happens, Mickey? You kind of.
No, my head is on my feet, or I know it's what I like, and I also had this type of experience when I'm sleeping in my living room and not in my bedroom. When I'm sleeping in my bedroom in the morning, when I came back, I see the images from the window of my bedroom and not from my living room, and it's funny. I try to stay in this state for a long period. I like this. I'm not afraid. I don't know. I like.
May I? Can we talk a little bit about the helper's part role during return and interiorization? Because, well, I must admit that sometimes I don't feel him, her being near me, and if I don't feel, I'm getting a little bit afraid. Wow, I am by myself. I have to do it alone. But yeah, when I feel the helper and I know that he's there, I'm very relaxed and nothing happened. What do you perceive the helper, your helper, during this interiorization or returning into the physical body?
I can start. I have two things. The first thing is that sometimes I can perceive the helper energy, the energies of the helper, and I cannot see he or her. But it's okay. Okay, so that's helped me, but sometimes, and it is common too, that I return to my body and it's only me. It could be there's no helper, and this is okay because of course after a projective assistant or the helper sometimes wants to give some inspirations and have a telepathic conversation. It's okay, but another times is you are alone, right? And you and it's an anemic experience that is because sometimes we use or we want, right, always the helper in our side, but sometimes it's not like that, right? Because we work in a partnership, right, with our helper, but we don't have in all the moments, right? And this is very important to not depend, right? To have this active participation in our projections. This is one of the most important things. And another thing, sometimes you return with extra-physical consciousnesses too. So, and you say, where is the helper? Because you see in your room, in your bedroom, right? Another consciousness, and sometimes you don't perceive that there's a team or sometimes a helper helping on this. So this can be the two situations. Maybe it's with you, but you don't perceive. And the second is you don't need the helper the whole time. It's not you. It's not someone that you. No, you need to be here with me. No. Sometimes when it's needed, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. We don't need to have always the helper. That's good, Virginia. And there is another thing that's yes, it's not in my experience. I never felt the helpers when I come back to my body. What I had was catalepsy and sometimes astrophysical assistance with a really difficult conscience is still there, and I wake up maybe just with energy and the work there. And it was more common to me to come back alone or to come back from an assistant, never with helpers. Not never. In Penta, sometimes, yes, but it's just a case in Penta, not in a projection in my, in my room or something like that.
Same with me. Generally, the helper is not present on the landing, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's contrary, because when we take off, sometimes we have some helpers. I had actually in some courses, we have some helpers getting us out or talking to us. We get out and they are there, we can talk to them.
Maybe because it's more difficult to the takeoff than the landing. I don't know. In the takeoff, you get more help sometimes. Yeah.
Or maybe they are there just to because we need to do some
we need to grow up and do it by ourselves.
I think my only experience with that when coming back to the body, I didn't perceive the helpers, but when I realized I was coming back and I didn't want to, so I was trying to project again, and then like a thought came to me, was like, nope, you need to go and record what happens, so this projection is over. So that it kind of felt like that was the helper saying, you're not going to go back.
Yeah, you make me recall one experience that was a projection, and they were teaching me something in the end.
Okay, what's more? Kim, do you have any other question? You said that you have 2 questions.
Yeah, I had another one. I was just, there's people, my kids share with me on, on TikTok, sometimes these stories. There's a lot of people talking about lucid dreaming and stuff on TikTok. And there are people that are talking about having, because, you talk about time and how like 10 minutes, physical minutes can be like 10 hours extra physically or whatever. But what do you think of people claiming to spend like days, people saying like they've lived a lifetime, when they're asleep, and they have and they come back and it's like they've spent like 3 years somewhere else or something. I mean, I'm very skeptical of those kind of stories. I guess my assumption is that they're sort of made up, but I don't know if anybody's come across or experienced something that felt like that.
For me, not years, yeah, but you lose the sense of time is so different, and always it seems that you've been there for a long time, and it's just 1 minute, and you can believe it because it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
But the intense of the experience can, I don't know, give you this sensation, right? Because the intraphysical time is so different for the extraphysical time. So this idea that having lucidity about that, I think is so important. Yes, not to say, no, I've been there like 3 hours, no, and it's not, maybe it's 5 minutes. So have these criticisms, yeah, just to have this, open your eyes and say, maybe, how many physical time I've been there in the extra-physical. So for that reason, sometimes the clock, have an alarm clock is okay, but sometimes for me it's difficult to check how many hours, because I remember when I awake, but
time is totally different. That is for sure. And
yeah.
I said, as I said before, when I was younger, sometimes I was almost out all night long, and I could tell even by the the clothes in my bed. There was no movement whatsoever. I was out, and a lot of things happened. But even when even these days, when I sleep better and I can remember, I can recall projections. Sometimes in the night I have 3-4 different projections. There's a sequence with the, you come back and you go back and you go again, and there's another and another, and there can be a lot of stuff going on.
There was one experience I had, Kim, that sort of is a bit reminiscent of what you were asking around. I was in a place, and then a whole rehabilitation process started, and it was like there was an earthquake in that place. But everything evolved and changed really quickly. But what I understood or interpreted of the thoughts that the native consciexes to that environment were having was they were having like a really elongated experience of it, whereas I was having like an experience of this thing like happening like in a couple of minutes. But their memories and their interpretation of these changes that happened to the environment, the buildings being changed and parks and grass is growing and just a complete reurbanization of the place, they seem to remember it all as something that was very long.
Happening over a really long period of time, sort of,
yeah,
like you might expect in a city changing. And
exactly, but in my experience and reality of it, it was like things were happening like this. The land was changing and being upheaved and turned over, and the buildings gone and new parks created. I was like going, wow, what's going on? So yeah, that's sort of something, maybe it could be something along those lines. I don't know, but it was something that sort of seemed familiar.
Depending on perception and level of lucidity and dimension where you
conditioning, expectations. Like we don't expect for our neighborhood to be changed overnight or like in 5 minutes, you know, but it was. So the way we explain things to ourselves,
Yeah, I remember sometimes I have this sense that you go to one place to another and you don't know, because maybe you are with you are in a training with a helper, and you go to one place and to another, and there's so quickly, and it's like what is happening, one scenario to another, and it's in seconds, right? And for me, this it is related. It's not the same, right? But it's the sensation that all in the extraphysical too, when you go to one place to another, could be different environments or dimension, and it's so quickly. You know, the going with the psychosoma to one place to another in the extraphysical. And this is something that is always pays my attention, because it's not, and you have different degrees of lucidity in that dimensions. And yeah, for me, it's always a challenge if I have a lot of sceneries.
And that's also according to the different dimensions that you can go to, and then you know, different level of lucidity. Like in some dimensions, probably you need a means of transport. In others, you just fly. In others, you just think and you're there. So there's so many different possibilities beyond this physical body, or beyond the cage.
Great.
I want-
So,
Sorry.
yep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
I once for one day, when I wake up in the morning, I had the strange sensation that I had lived before the day, and through all the day, I had this impression that I already knew from the night before what is going to happen, and I had this sensation that I lost time, or living a day for twice in 2 days of a row. And I had this, I think it's related with what Kim told. It's a gap in time, and when I experienced in that Sunday, every moment, every phone call, I already knew this has happened before. And maybe for some, this took only for one day. I had this experience, but maybe for some, in this one day, maybe for them, it was 3 years. And I think it's possible to.
Maybe this was precognition, and
Yes.
I have.
But
also
for one day, all moment at that day, I knew what is going to happen, and I had this sensation that I had lived before everything. Is not knowing but experiencing all.
I have some experiences in a not full day, but you know, a bit like that, where I experienced that what happens or what we make happen in the intraphysical has already happened in the extraphysical. And sometimes we make it happen, and other times we don't make it happen. That's the thing as well. That's my experience.
Yes, that's really great. Thank you, everybody, for the great discussion. We are at our time, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much to our facilitators, Virginia and Anna, and for everybody for participating and engaging in the discussion. Before we go, we always present a technique that we want to practice for the month. So this month will be chapter 391, extra physical event recall techniques. And that's one of the techniques that Virginia and Anna had covered today. So just to read through the chapter, read through the technique and practice, and next month we'll get together again to hear your experiences. So thank you very much, and we hope that you join us for our next event, which is the 19th of October. So see you all then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great to be together.